If I've ever done this before, if it's the first time. Teresa, how are you? Janet G, Rick Smith, Kristen Melinda, I live for now. Good to see you. Shannon Smith, Mach, how are you? Joining you on another nighttime dog walk. Well, that's nice. That is nice. Lynn Sanity, glad you're here. Rick Smith, Just Joan, Robin Miners, hello. Dr. Ducky. All right. I think we may be close to caught up. I live for now. Scooby Lee, Debbie P, and Banana. Good to see you. Eva. I'm half asleep, but I'm here. That's all right. Half asleep's not bad. Marion Calabro means you're half awake. Right? I mean, we extrapolate that. We got to get that, don't we? Isn't that the only thing we can end up with? Got to be at least half awake. All right. Layla, good to see you. Frank Humphreys, hello. Hello. All right, we can fire this thing up. Here's the good news. I got good and bad news. Yes, glass half full. Shannon gets it. Stardust, hello. How are you? I have absolutely nothing to talk about. Mayhem and Miracles, good to see you. Can't think of a better name. 4th live stream with boat and boat adjacent channels tonight. Holy hell. That's hitting it out of the park. I assume you got Quibs twice over on her channel. And then, okay, yeah, I can see that. Lisa Hall, how are you? Bacon Bits Ben Turner. Caroline. Hey, Caroline. Yeah, you enjoying the, I went outside and shot a couple of videos right before I went live, right? There's this big, I was telling Quibs, I actually sent one of the videos to her, but it looks like right over New York City in the Ghostbusters, like this big black hole. And it's kind of swirling and looking just absolutely epic. And you can see the wall of water that's traveling with it. I'm guessing it's going to hit here, if it does, in about 5 or 10 minutes. So there'll be no subject tonight. Hey, Jess Pauline, how are you? Becky Lynn, thank you, Becky, for being here. Always an honor to have you. People, we're going to talk about whatever comes to mind. You guys can ask questions. We can steer this thing, but I feel like I've done a couple of shows. I don't know how many I've done today, but I feel like I've done a bunch. Sorrow Christmas left here 15 minutes ago. Okay, Marion, glad you're here. Lily Benjamin, yo all. Kelly, evening. Good to see you. Kitty Connie, 8 months without smoking. That is amazing. You're a non-smoker. Next is the vape. That's so we started with harm reduction. Good for you. I love that model. Love that model. I vape too. I've been cutting down the nicotine on it, but I can't remember the last time I smoked a cigarette. I can't. It's been so long. Yeah, proud of you. That's a good thing. It really is. Here comes Squirrel Nut Zipper. She's looking for a place to hide. Ooh, here it comes. You hear that, people? This is gonna get real loud. I may take you guys on a tour of this. Depending on how ugly this gets, we may just go outside in the monsoon, laptop. It'll end the laptop in the boat for about a week, but boy, wouldn't that be? I could probably get closer to the door though. We'll see what's happening. Stardust says, 8 months without smoking. Sorry I didn't catch your name, but great job. You know what? They heard you though. That's good. C. Tommy, you're just the man. I can't remember if we could talk about Danny M, but he's some gang leader now. I don't believe everything that you read or hear. Miss the cats? Yep. Question, what's your biggest win since being sober? My biggest win? Probably getting through my dad's death. Probably getting through my dad's death without using. Because I think I think everybody involved, even the people that were solidly in my corner and believed in me, would probably be giving me 50-50 odds. You know what I mean? I've never gotten through anything that was really difficult without an opiate. I just never had. And I wasn't, this was the first really bad thing that had happened since I got sober. And this wasn't run of the mill. This was the worst possible case scenario, right? This was my dad was more than my dad. He was my best friend, you know? And yeah, getting through that, I was pretty damn proud of myself. I walked downstairs at the halfway house and tried to arrange travel to go home for his funeral. And they said, no, that takes a long time to get approval for that. So we put off his celebration of life for like 90 to 120 days, right? To give me enough time to pass everything. And they screwed me and didn't approve it. And it was a matter of paperwork. It just didn't come back in time. And I was like, I've never had a write-up here. I've had a job the whole time I've been here, man. You're not going to let me go to my dad's funeral. Like, how jacked up is that? I mean, it was in the time of the face diaper, but whatever. Yeah, I have heard of cat programs in prison and dog programs. Curious what you think. If you've been in one who has had the program, I'm in cat rescue, so I'm curious about your thoughts. Mittens, 1970. It is absolutely amazing what happens when you introduce furry animals into a prison. It's amazing. It brings out the human in guys that are trying to act like they're not human. When you get in there, you got to kind of put on this hard ass exterior, like you're the toughest dude in the whole world, because you can't afford to show weakness. And that's the mindset anyway, whether that's true or not. Everybody kind of feels that way, right? Everybody kind of feels that way. So to see a guy, going, ooh, or making the little kitty sounds and go, you're a beautiful girl. You're a sweet kitty. Who's a good kitty? You're looking at this, this guy from a gang, in there playing with his cat. It really, it humanizes people really quickly. Well, there's a subject, weathering the storm. Riding the storm out. There you go. Major, you know what? Weathering the storm is not so bad. Better name. What happened? What happened? Better name. Did we stumble? 8 weeks. Oh my God, no. 8 weeks today since hubby died unexpectedly. My God, I am so sorry. You know what? I don't think you can hold yourself too accountable. That's a very difficult thing to get. It really is. C says, rest in peace. I miss my pops. Yeah, I really miss my dad. He was just so much fun to talk to. He was a guy that, I could call at any time. I could call it virtually any time, and we always had something that we could talk about. Like if all else failed, I could bring up wristwatches. Be like, did you see Paddock's new line for this year? He would have. My dad was a big fan of watches. And I'd go, what do you like? And it didn't matter. Even if we had been beefing or not getting along well, always because of me. My dad never did anything to me. He really didn't. He was just such a kind, loving man. But I would screw up and feel like an idiot and not come around for a while. Good night, Scoob. But this was, it was always nice to have that one thing that you could rally around. We could always talk about watches. Jen Nelson is throwing out memberships like hot sauce packets and turning people green all over this boat. Thank you, Jen Nelson. So appreciate you. I really do. Yeah, my dad did share my passion for watches. I think my dad fostered it. I think without my dad, I wouldn't have the passion. It was a very funny thing. I think I got enthralled with watches right around maybe a little before my dad did, or maybe my dad had always been and I just had never seen it. But I was trying to get Swatch. It was a brand new company, and I was trying to get 4 or 5 different ones on a collecting list. I didn't know a quartz movement from an automatic movement, from a winder, from anything. I didn't know. I didn't even realize that there were watches that would wind just by doing this, right? I thought everything needed a battery. And when my dad had just bought a Rolex, when my Swatch finally stopped working, And I was like, hey, this thing's dead. He's like, yeah, you probably just need a new battery. And I was like, a battery? So how come yours hasn't run out of battery? And my dad's like, mine doesn't need a battery. And then I started to get fascinated. I was like, wait a second. So why is it that I can get a watch that tells perfect time for $28, but there are watches out there that are 200,000? Like, I really need to know what's going on with that watch. And it just became a passion. And then I started going to like thrift stores and buying them and started taking them apart. I mean, you screw up a lot. You destroy a lot of watches if you want to try to teach yourself to work on them. You blow a lot of watches, but I believe they talked to us from the other side. I've been hearing a song my brother wrote 30 years ago, nonstop, funny. It was called Dream World. How appropriate. How appropriate. Hey, Barbie, how are you? Glad you're here. Yeah, there really is a lot of early childhood influences when it comes to our interests. There's no doubt. There's no doubt. And that's why when when my partner says, you know what, my dad was a jerk when I was a kid, but everybody went through this stuff. You know what I mean? Everybody had a tough upbringing. No, there's a lot of people that didn't. What happened to her was literally at the time in your life when people should be lifting you up, they were tearing her down. And it's caused damage, a decent amount of it, right? But I got mad respect for how she is, for how she's fighting it, right? Just plowing headlong into it, I think, is fairly impressive. I need to figure out how hubby's talking to me from the other side. It's excruciating in the meantime. I'll tell you a story. I think I've told it on the boat before, but when I was a youngster, me and my brother and my dad were all in the house that my dad lived in Texas. My brother and I were living together somewhere else, but we were over visiting with my dad. I mean, we lived in Houston. We just had our own place. And there was a noise. It was a super fast rattling sound. And we kind of walked around the house looking for whatever the hell was making that noise. And it was a picture frame. And it was a picture frame of my grandfather, my dad's dad. And it was obvious to every one of us what was making the noise, right? And my dad reached out and touched the frame. And when he did, it stopped instantly. And it was really, really odd. Hello, Irrelevant Panda. It was really odd. And my dad said, I'd like to believe that, that was him. I said, yeah, I don't blame you. I'd like to believe that too. And when my dad was getting, toward the end, my dad, he knew he was going to die. He knew the day he was going to die. I mean, he didn't die in the hospital, but he knew. He said to me, this is my last day on earth. But we had talked about it. And I said to him, hey, man, if you can ever rattle a picture frame from the other side, just go ahead and do that for me. And I was on the phone with Johnny Scoville. And you can't see it, but right above where I'm sitting is a picture of that bridge, right? But a real picture, not a painting, is a picture of that bridge from the other side. And that was the first bridge I ever got stoned on. It's where I used to get dropped off when my parents would take me into town. I'd get dropped off on the village green right there, and then I'd run over and meet my friends on the bridge or under the bridge. It was where I threw my life away, right? Or where I started the process of throwing my life away, to be sure. And I'm sitting here with my brother, and I'm like, I had him on speaker. I go, do you hear that noise? And he goes, yeah, what is that? And because of how this house is, it's big, it's a barn, it's huge, right? And it's big open floor plan. It was really obvious which picture was making noise. Like, I knew instantly. I walked over and it was the exact same thing. And I put my finger out and it stopped. And it freaked me out. I went live and talked about it. I was like, man, and I don't know what happened. I can't. I am one of those people that really would like a little bit of, I got to sink my teeth into something. It's not empirical. Those are two really cool things, though. Something happened, right? If it's a coincidence, it's a hell of a one. Stoned on a covered bridge is one of the most New England things I've ever heard. Yes. Yeah. Well, that is a very New England thing. And a village green, right? If you weren't on the bridge, you were on the village green, which was that 3 rails that were green. There you go, people. Can we see that right there? That is the other side of that bridge. And you see the snow is covering up the railing of the village green. But that's kind of where the kids that weren't doing the right thing used to hang out. You did not want to be one of the green kids. Kids that hung out on the green were causing problems usually. Chris says coincidence is God's way of remaining anonymous. Always loved that. I really have. I've always loved that. Yes, that is a photograph. That was a photograph that was taken while I still lived there. I didn't take the photograph, but it was taken during the time frame that I lived in that part of the world. Eastern Washington, it's making an apple into a pipe. Been there, done that. They just make such a perfect pipe. They really do. Tommy, I'm not really sure about messages or speech from the other side. I honestly don't know. I do know this. I do know that there's so much that we don't understand. And you know what's funny? I was having this conversation on my birthday with Quibble. The two of us were having a conversation about this. And I told her about a couple of odd things that have happened to me in my life. And then I said, have you ever had anything weird happen to you? And she said, yeah, I've had a couple of different weird things happen to me. She said, I've seen this and I've seen this, and described how they happened. And I was like, well, it's kind of cool, right? That you had those things happen. And she's like, yeah, you know what? I got photos of two of them. I'm like, wait, what? You have photos? She's like, yeah, I was able to take pictures of what I was looking at. She's like, I'm not sure if you'll see it the way that I saw it. Man, everybody would see it the way that she saw it. It's pretty damned bizarre, actually. Can't think of a better name. Says there's a covered bridge kind of near me, also in New England. Very tempting. Yeah, the part of New England that I lived in, there was a covered bridge about every 4 feet. I'm not joking. Like going from my house to the first McDonald's that I could possibly eat at, I probably passed 5 or 6 covered bridges. Yep. I mean, I would have to go out the route a little bit. It wouldn't be directly on one road, but between here and there, there's about 5 to 7 of them. And in the movie I'm in, I cause the moving truck to almost go through a covered bridge. The covered bridge gets destroyed. Anybody remember this? Anybody remember this? Angie Mo says, hey, y'all. Hey, y'all. You know something? Y'all is one of those. I think it's the first thing you pick up if you go to another place. Amarusti, the name of the film is Funny Farm with Chevy Chase. A Warner Brothers film that came out in the late 80s. Anne from Massachusetts says, I still turn around to tell my husband something, but he's been gone since January 2023. I miss getting his reaction. I think he's watching over me, but I don't think he can communicate. I'll see him again. Yeah, you will. I really wholeheartedly believe that you will see him again. And you know what, Anne? I think it's beautiful that you guys were that close. Honestly, there are couples that didn't communicate, right? Tons of them. There are couples that sat in the same room and they were burned out on each other, and they had stopped communicating years ago. The fact that you're still turning to talk to him, you must have done that 1 billion times. And I think that's absolutely beautiful, man. I really do. I think that's beautiful. Kristen Melinda says the first time I saw a real life covered bridge was as an adult when traveling to meet in-laws. You would have thought I was in Disneyland. Shannon Smith, you didn't see my movie? Well, I'm downright offended. Lily Benjamin, how are you? Glad that you're here. Hey, sweet tea. I am working at the gas station right now. There is this new vape called Sensa with no nicotine. Flavors sound really good. Sensa, nicotine-free vape, huh? I don't know that I've heard of that. You were able to duck the y'all. I do pretty well when I go down south. Quibble says that I was already starting to talk like somebody from that part of the world, and maybe I was. I don't know if I was picking it up, but I don't normally. But I'll tell you what, you want to hear a terrible change in accent? Get me around 2 or 3 people from Boston, or get me around 2 or 3 people from New York. I mean, natives. Let me hang out with them for about an hour and a half, and my accent will come back so thick you won't be able to understand what I'm saying. It's really odd. It's a very strange phenomenon. But like when I was a freshman in college, there were like 4 guys, 5 guys on my floor that were either from Boston or from New York, and they were right near my room. And yeah, one of those things. Barbie says, sister and her hubby moved into my house 7 years ago. He passed last year, and weird things happened ever since. Sister's TV in her room comes on by itself a few times a week. His favorite music pops up on her phone. I love that. I really do. I love that. And I love that which cannot be explained. I love that which cannot be explained. Honestly, I think it would suck if it all was explained. Right? I mean, your goal, as far as I'm concerned, on this ball, right, is to forward love. Yeah. To forward the mission of love, to be kinder to everybody, right? To live that kind of life. And then to figure out what the meaning of life is. And I mean, we can throw a good joke or two in there, right? People aren't wearing enough hats. But seriously, I think that's your job. You find out maybe this life is just about doing the best that you can while you're here, because that's the only thing that's going to happen, and you'll be worm food when it's over. I love you as much if that's what you believe as if you believe anything else. But I think your job is to find out what you believe and feel pretty good about it. Right? And it would be really nice if you could feel comfortable in your own skin without chemicals. Joni Allen says, I remember Funny Farm. You do? I went to an audition, and then I went to another audition, and then I went to a third audition, and I got the part. I steal road signs. Bridges in Madison County is one of my favorite movies. Just Pauline, I hear that a lot. A lot of people like that. Yadira, glad you're here. Oh, that would be sweet. I hope you do that this weekend. I think that there's something magical about going back to places that you've been before. I think there's something magical about that. I really do. I think that there's an energy. I don't know how to explain it. I really don't. But there are places I can go to in the Northeast in particular, where it's like walking on hallowed ground. You know what I mean? Like I feel something so uniquely different when I enter a certain space. So it's a beautiful thing. But I know it's my ghost, right? The ghost of the person I was around the time that I was living there. Because you know something? You and Reese need to come to Boston. I would love to go to Boston. And I'm a big fan of the city. I would love to take I'd love to take everybody on that tour, right? I'd love to go live at Faneuil Hall. And there's just so much to do in Boston. It's a really cool city. There's so much history in it. I mean, you think about, our country, all the stories you hear, it's right there, right? It's the history of our country, pretty much there. When I was a freshman, I had a roommate, from Taunton. I could not understand him, and I'm from central Massachusetts. You know something? Worcester. Got some pretty rugged accents that come out of Worcester. I had a friend from Natick. Some of it just has to do with, I think, your upbringing, because usually Natick's pretty, not bad. But Southie, whew, the boys in Southie got it's an accent that is really unique. KG says, I get uncomfortable having my picture taken. There is a history of unusual things showing up in the photos. It usually happens when I have been intensely focused and meditating a lot. Well, that's kind of cool. Maybe don't pose for them, but I think it's kind of cool that something's trying to let you know that something's happening. I know that like some dust can pick up really weird things in front of a camera lens. There's a lot of things that can happen, but we went through a period of time on the boat where there seemed to be a lot of orbs floating around, and I couldn't see them, right? I never saw them, but everybody else did. Shelly Kelly knows the true meaning of life is 42. Kristen Melinda has a theory too. Sometimes I think maybe the meaning of life is just living, you know? Well, there's a lot of people who are taking this tact, right? There's a lot of people who believe that, hey, it's the here and now, right? So get as much out of it because there isn't anything after this. So you may as well just live it, right? To live it. I think that this is I think it's a classroom. I really do. And I think that you're supposed to learn some stuff on this trip. Now, I don't know. I don't know what happens if you don't learn it. But I reached an age where ignorance is no longer bliss. I wish that I had gotten the bug to educate myself a lot younger than I did, because I think it may have been a very different world and a very different life for me. But it is what it is. You're so rewatching it now. Well, here, I'll make it really easy for you. When when the movie first opens up, Chevy Chase, who is a sports writer from New York, he's telling all of his friends he's heading out to the country to live his dream and write his novel. And he and his wife take off, and they're on their way out, and you hear the sign, which for whatever reason is on a wooden pole, because I guess the sticks, that's what we do. The sign falls over. Well, that's the sign that tells them how to get to the town of Redbud, which is where the farmer family, Chevy and his wife, were going to be moving. So the moving truck goes straight by where they're supposed to. They miss the turn. That causes the moving truck to almost break through a covered bridge. Later on, I send Chevy Chase off a cliff in his MG. I just steal road signs. Kind of something that really happens in the Northeast. Did I aspire to be an actor? I did. I absolutely did. Yeah, I did, and I really enjoyed acting. I had a lot of fun with it. It's something that I really I had a good time with, but I think that getting that movie around the time I did wasn't a great thing for me. I was in a very, very small college, right? Teeny small college. And there was a one movie theater. It's not like the ones that we go to where there's 20 cinemas, and don't get that. Think of like the 1940s kind of thing. This is in the Northeast. It's one theater. And because Funny Farm was, supposed to be about going to Vermont or New Hampshire or someplace in the Northeast, that's what they wanted to show. So my first 2 weeks of being a freshman in college, a movie is showing in town, and within 2 days people were like, oh, that dude's in the movie. And then people would go back out, and over the course of 2 weeks, I think everybody on the campus saw it. And most people don't know someone that's been in a film, and I think it kind of destroyed me. I think I really did. I would walk around campus and people knew who I was. I didn't know who anybody was, and everybody wanted to get stoned. Everybody wanted to get drunk, and that's all I wanted to do in life. Those two things were really important to me, particularly getting stoned. So I would wander from place to place and get high with everybody that wanted to get me high. It was just very unhealthy. I slept with too many people. I did all kinds of crap, and it really got tied down to the smallest modicum of fame. But it was not something that I could handle at that time in my life, I promise you. Wow, that's see, I hear stories like this all of the time. And by the way, I don't doubt them. When I say stories, I'm not saying like, that's a story, like a tall tale story. I mean, people tell me that these kind of things has happened to them. I hear it all of the time. Reese would love to shop in Boston. I don't think there's any doubt she would dig that. And she loves old stuff. Like Reese really digs like thrift stores, antiques malls, things like that. She loves that. And when you go antiquing in the Northeast, it's just there's something different about it, right? I mean, there's they've just been around there a lot longer. Uh, my Newfie accent came back big time when I went to Newfoundland for a few weeks ago. The Irish, French, British mix up accent came through like never left the island. You know what? Do you know we got a lot of people on the boat from Newfoundland? We do. We got a lot of people from that part of the world that are crew members on the boat. For real. Small world. Mittens is from Melrose. Oh, that is. But yours is glaring. I don't mind the good accent. I got very, very good at making my accent go away when I needed it to. I got very good at trying to sound like you weren't quite sure what part of the country I might have been born in. As a speaker, if you start really putting on the New York, if you start relaxing it all and just being you, they think you're a thief. True story. They think you're a thief. And usually this isn't a good idea either. Back in the day, they used to say bald wasn't good and neither was facial hair, believe it or not. So as a public speaker, I had hair and I shaved my face. Always. Of course, it's a lot easier when you can grow hair. I can still grow hair. I can. It's just not a lot of it. I prefer not having any. My other's keeper was my last name. Yeah, that was my last name. That's what I was born with. Yeah, that was my last name. Lily Benjamin says, I'm doing very well tonight. I started a project today teaching a few preteen homeschooled kids how to read in memory of Dan Markel. Not looking for accolades, just passing. You know something? I love that. I love that. And I love how many people showed up over on STS tonight. I love that there was a good turnout of people that showed up for that. My family has been through so much. It's just such a shit show. Really hoping that that maybe by this time next year, true justice for that family will be almost there. Yeah, because there's still a way to go. There really is still a way to go. Wendy's we need to know what Wendy did in this. Interesting take, Tommy Bird. He says, I think this is the plane where our souls experience suffering, because how could we truly appreciate paradise and eternity without the contrast of the world's suffering? It simply wouldn't mean as much. You know what? I think that's a very intuitive. I like where you're going. I really do. It's there's something very logical about that. Once I switched to LED, I no longer blow lights out when I'm mad. I shattered a plasma ball when I touched it. Oh, I knew somebody else that I never saw it, but they said when their kid used to get pissed, light bulbs would snap, light bulbs would go out or pop, literally pop, and that kind of crap has actually been in a laboratory. They've been able to bring people in and actually demonstrate that. There are people, for whatever reason, something that they put off with their electrical field. You can call it whatever you want, but there is definitely some stuff to back that up. This is not a dress rehearsal. Well, you get one shot here. You definitely get one shot here. I think. I don't think you keep coming back, but I don't know. I really don't. I mean, let's be really honest. No matter how firm you are in your beliefs, they're beliefs, right? And I think it should be that way. I don't want to believe in something that doesn't require faith, right? That's not a belief. I don't know. I like the fact that there's some mystery surrounding all of this, the mysteries of the universe, the mysteries of the world, right? To me, I think that's a really cool thing. I spell like a Canadian. I spell like somebody who doesn't do right. I've always been really horrific at spelling. Ignorance is definitely bliss. Most of the people over here in Japan have never heard of that or the Bee Gees. You know what? If I ever make it, I will do something about that. Come over there and try to teach all of the people over there to sing in perfect harmony. And a lovely Bee Gees song that's coming down. The monsoons are here. Back on the subject of communication with partner, my wife's legs are giving her pain. I'm going to play massage therapist. I'll catch the rest of the replay. Incarnasoul, God bless you. And I hope that that her legs feel better, that you're successful. Hubby and I stole for sale signs and put them in the cemetery. That was always a good one. We always used to take for sale signs and put them in front of the police station. That was a good one. And the high school. Growing up, every weekend, somebody would list the high school for sale. With like and we were in the sticks. So there weren't for sale signs everywhere. It wasn't like that. Marion Calabro says, years ago, we rented a summer house in the Hamptons. Allow me to say, Pimpin. Tip my hat to Pimpin. That is a pretty prestigious address. Dan C says, hi, Captain. Loved the video earlier this morning about owning it. Definitely need to work on that. Did my first night journal tonight. Dan C, that really will change your life. I'm not blowing smoke. That will absolutely change your life. The single greatest thing that I have made as a change in my life has been journaling. Journaling has allowed me to keep track of me in a way that I've never done before. Funny farm, there you go. Funny farm. It does. The accent does come back. Hey, V. McWilliams, good to see you. I'll be honest. Whether we're right, wrong, or somewhere in between, I just love the fact that the people can come together and actually have discussions like this. My first experience with fentanyl anesthesia for cataract surgery this week. Do you mean you've already done that, Carol Ann, or you're going to? I will tell you this. What you got and what's on the street are apples and oranges. One is an analog of fent, but it's not fent. The stuff that you got in an anesthesia form, that's alpha fentanyl. It's a very, very clean, very safe opioid, for real. Providing the delivery method isn't stupid, providing you're not putting way too much into you. It's a very, very safe and stable drug. Well, I aspired to be an astronaut when I was 7. Not that it worked out or anything. I sure spent many, many years in my own version of empty space. Yeah, and trying to go for the moon and all of that stuff. Chris says, get your wife a leg swinger off Amazon. It's great for leg and overall healing. Research it. And you know what? If I often research things that Chris advises. Mets fan lurker here, just saying hello. Well, I'm a fan of the Metropolitans as well, so we can commiserate, right? Because let's be honest, there hasn't been a ton to over the years. We haven't had a ton to get too excited about. I love the history in Boston, says Shannon Smith. I do too, man. I would really, really love to take everybody there. It was on Penny Lane. That is a sign that would get stolen constantly. Shelly Kelly says, antiquing is like exploring. I agree with you. And it's something that you can do with 2 friends or 20 friends. For real. There's not much more fun than here's my thing. Like, I'm in there for that, right? I'm going in there, and you would not believe some of the scores that I have found. Watches, and it was a lot better 10 or 15 years ago because there's a lot of people like me doing this now. But it's just a lot of fun to go out and hunt down watches that people have never heard of the names of that are really, really expensive stuff. Can't think of a better name. Says, yes, antique shops up here are pretty cool. No question. Christy Melinda says, I also enjoyed Salem. Yeah. I think you'd blend right in Salem. And I mean that as the best compliment. You know what? Christy Melinda is one of those people. She's one that seems to always be in the moment and embracing life. She's not much of a complainer, which is a good thing. Miss Dragon says, hubby says the paranormal follow me. Anne says, I lived in Massachusetts my whole life. I actually lived next to the town I grew up in. We were going to move after my mom passed, but my daughter was still in high school. I happen to really love the people of Massachusetts. For real. I love the Northeast. New England's great. And, Boston is kind of the seat, right, of New England, in my humble opinion. Yeah, alcohol is a terrible drug. Wow. In high school, we had an English elective called ESP Studies. Uh, in high school, you could take extrasensory perception studies, and they would do what? Sit you down with a bunch of cards and see if you could tell what cards were what. I've done a bunch of that stuff. A lot of weird games. I'd like to buy the world the Coke and keep it coming. Do, 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 do. Jersey, Lisa from Jersey. I love that. I hope that brought you all kinds of peace. I know it would bring me peace. It really would. When you see something that you really can go, yeah, you know what? That's real. I saw that. That's a beautiful thing. Kristen Melinda says, in high school, we would swipe construction cones with blinking lights on top and then leave them on each other's doorsteps. Well played. Well played. I was always a fan of that kind of prank. My ex contacted me from his summer home in Newport, Rhode Island. Is this man an epic nozzle? What's the deal? He's calling you from his summer home in Newport, Rhode Island, but he's your ex? Was he a philandering, cheating piece of vomit? Why did we get rid of this guy? He sounds lovely to me so far. I mean, I know I don't have the whole story, but right now he sounds lovely. Don't apologize for being chatty. Knock that off. This is the place you come to be chatty. Thank you, Kirsten Melinda. Thank you. Shelly Kelly. Everybody seems to, yeah, don't stop. When I started watching you, I was so against journaling because I didn't want anyone to read. Thank you, Tommy. I've been journaling about 10 days every day. You know what? You're getting into that power band. From anywhere from, say, 10 to 28 days is when you really are going to start to notice that you sleep differently, you dream differently. When you wake in the morning, you're sharper. It really does give you the best opportunity for success. And that's, what more could we ask for? Hello, Forrest. Welcome to the boat. I'm glad you're here. Ooh, see, Lisa got to hit me with the go Yankees. I still love you. I still love you. Do 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 do. Hey there. Oh man, you've seen Salem is fun. Dan C says, I'm originally from Long Island. Can confirm the Hamptons are legit. My family's from Long Island too. Dan C. Um, and Bayshore. If you're familiar with Bayshore, right on the South Bay, but my family hailed from there. Carol Ann lived on Woodstock Avenue during the 60s. Well, that's big pimping. That's a great address in the 60s. I'm in the quiet corner of Connecticut. It's awesome. You know what? Yeah, the quiet corner of Connecticut is awesome. I had a lot of friends that used to live in Connecticut and go into the city to work. I knew a gangster too, for real, like a legit gangster that lived in Meriden, Connecticut. I remember the first, like when I put it all together and I realized what and who the guy was. And I was talking to his kid. I was like, "Holy hell, your old man's a gangster." And he's like, "No, no. I mean, he and his partners, they probably cut a couple of corners." And I'm like, "No, bro, these guys are gangsters." You know what I mean? I'm like, "It is what it is." But I have a feeling your dad's whacking people. And he says to me, just as serious as hell, he's like, "No, on the real, that's not happening." I said, "No." He goes, "No. He's making fake money." And he said it like, he's a landscaper, right? Because he's making fake money. In fact, when we went to visit him in Meriden, he gave us a stack of fake $50 bills, and he gave us like any father would. You give, don't drink and drive, don't do this, this, and this. Now you make sure you don't bust two of these bills in the same place, right? You want to make sure you go to movie theaters and go buy one ticket, right? Go down four windows, buy another ticket, keep breaking those bills. But careful, because all of those serial numbers match each other. Okay. All right. Kristen Kruger, glad you're here. That's a great comment, too. Have I noticed a decrease in the amount of people who buy watches now that everything is on the phone? I hope not, because it makes me sad. I have my great grandmother's watch, and I cherish it. Absolutely, the sales of watches went off a cliff because of the phone and the iPhone. But when the iPhone watch, right, the Apple Watch came out, it became the greatest selling watch in America and worldwide, the number one selling watch. And you know what it did? It got people back into wearing a watch, and they said, "I don't want to keep charging these things." And now there is a renaissance in people buying watches. It's a very rabid fan base, but they have to be mechanical, right? They have to be something where you wind them or something along those lines. Dude, Newport is a great town. Well, is this guy a nozzle or is he a decent dude, Shannon Smith? Spill the dirt. Give us the tea. Why is this guy no longer with us? He winters here in Naples, Florida, and retired at 58. You have my permission to marry him. See, he sounds like a lovely man. He really does. Pantera backed up my brother back in the day, and he was friends with Dimebag. Wow. That's pretty cool. I spent 4 months traveling all over the country after retiring. Vermont was beautiful. Considered moving there till we came to our senses and remembered the winter. Ended up settling in the desert. Oh, I don't blame you. When I was a kid, I joked my dad must have been a gangster because I didn't know what human resources meant. That's funny. That's really funny. Connecticut has a huge diversity. You can be in a ritzy area, drive half an hour, and be in a ghetto. True story. Yeah, we have a lot of people from the state of Washington. No, but you do have an accent, Spike. You absolutely have an accent. Used to be a really great bar in Rhode Island called the Living Room in Providence. Great place. Uh, you know who used to go there occasionally was the John Bon Jovi band. Lisa Hill. I literally don't know how to tag you, but it's in the northeast corner. Putnam, Woodstock, Wyndham areas. Okay, which state are we talking about? Because what's really odd is, do you know how many states have a Woodstock, a Putnam, and a Wyndham? Honestly, there are about 5 different states that all have those. Are kinetic watches considered mechanical? Yes, they are. However, they're like a second tier because kinetic watches do have a capacitor, which is kind of like a battery, and eventually they have to be replaced. Whereas a straight mechanical watch never has to be replaced. Since I got my Apple Watch, I have never worn my Rolex again. Actually, the date is too small for me to see anyway. I'm not sure what to do with it because I love that watch and I wore it for years. Well, here's the good news. It's not going down in value. Keep it in the box. Right now, ain't a great time to sell. But I would say a year from now, a year and a half from now, those are watches that I know the one you're talking about. You had a Lady Datejust, right? And more than likely, you had it in a champagne dial, right? You might have had diamonds on the numbers. Not sure, but it's the most well-known watch in the lineup for women, and a lot of women have it. They a couple of years back, used in good condition with a box, they were going for $9,000. This is not a great time right now because the market's just down on watches. Everything is trading low except a couple of big namers that never ever take a hit. Gerard Perregaux, for whatever reason, they never dip in value. They just continue to go up. And there aren't enough Patek Philippe's to ever keep the market happy. They just don't make enough of them. So the nurse who loved me, long time no see. I'm glad you're here. Hello from Australia. Really glad you're here. She comes from a land down under. Do I ride horses? I have. I have. I love horses. I think one of the coolest animals in the world. They're fun as hell to ride too. Gamer Jackie, good to see you. Lupo's and the Living Room were great clubs in Providence. See, Spike knows. Spike knows. Yeah, big shout out to the mods here on the boat who work harder than any mods in the world. And let's be honest, if you mod here, you probably mod for my girl. And between the two of us, what are we pulling? 4 or 5 hours? It takes like having a full-time freaking job. I'm really sorry for it. I really am. And we're gonna try to get this so that it's a little bit easier. Good time to buy. What watches should I look for? Frank Humphreys, if you're serious, right? This is a great time to buy. Send me an email and I will tell you just based on what's the most valuable. I'll list you 5 or 10 of the ones you ought to be looking for right now, because there are some watches. I'll give you a perfect example. Like 3 years ago, 3.5 years ago, a Daytona Cosmograph in rose gold with a fancy dial. It doesn't really matter which dial, but let's say a gold dust dial. Those were going for $80,000. In some places, they were going as high as 120, in spite of the fact that it's a $32,000 retail, because there aren't enough of them. And everybody was wanting to buy them, and the prices just kept getting ridiculous, kept going through the roof. And people would put a bigger price on it, and someone would buy it. And then someone would put a bigger price, and that it's just like stock. And it got crazy. I mean, it literally got out of control at how expensive they got. Right now, I can buy those watches for $26,000. But I promise you, it's going to go back. They always go back. This is the 4th time I've watched this happen in my life. And you have the right attitude. They're all on sale, right? They're all on sale. Nobody ever bought a watch and went, oh, crap, this is going to go down in value. If it's one of the top 5 or 6 brands, they never go down in value. Never. The one I'm wearing right now is a Royal Oak. when this watch came out, you could buy this watch for about $180 from this manufacturer. And now it's trading at about $3,500 box and papers. 32 grand. That was my yearly salary as a case manager many years ago. Well, it's a pretty nice freaking watch. I mean, you really need to see it, but it's a nice watch. And right now, I can go into the market and buy these things with boxes and papers, and it's not like a year and a half ago where I got to hunt them down. That just hit the house. And do you hear how quiet it got? The rain stopped. It's like we're right in the middle of it. Everything got really quiet. That is lightning you keep seeing flashing behind me. We're in the middle of a monsoon, and you're going to hear it because it was quiet for a minute, and it's about to get real loud. What seems to dictate the size of ladies' watches? I'll tell you what happened. Ladies' watches always used to be really, really small because they were considered jewelry. They really weren't considered, a practical item for a woman to have. Stupid, right? But they were very much more like jewelry. Lisa, good to see you. Well, I'm glad that you're here, and I'm glad I hope you're feeling better. And they started making them way too small. But I would say about 10 years ago, maybe 15 years ago, women just said, I'm not buying that stuff. And most women these days buy men's watches. Men's watches will come in like a 40 millimeter size, and they always have a couple for guys whose wrists aren't as big, and they'll sell them in, say, 38 millimeter or 36 millimeter, and women buy them. I sell more men's watches to women than I sell to men. Guaranteed. Guaranteed. How do my pets do with lightning and storms, Mo Love? That's a great question. Right now, as long as Squirrel gets near me, like I can keep one hand on her, I mean, bombs can be going off and she doesn't care. As long as she's close enough to be near me, she's pretty cool. Men's watches are more comfortable, and you'll be able to read them. And to be really honest, they're they're made a hell of a lot tougher. They really are. I mean, just by nature of the fact that they're making things bigger, and they're so hard to work on the really small watches. The exception to that would be the Rolex that she was just asking me questions about. She said she doesn't wear anymore. That watch is bulletproof. That watch is bulletproof. You want to talk about a tough watch movement? That is really a great watch. But even with the Cyclops magnifying the date, it's very hard to read on the woman's watch. It really is. Kristen Melinda says, my mother has one of those necklace watches that belonged to my great-grandmother. I'll have to ask her to show it to me again. I don't think it runs at the moment. Well, then let's get it running, right? Watches don't stop working forever. Watches just need to be repaired because they build watches so that you can repair them. They were meant to last forever. They're not meant to be thrown out. And you know what, Kristen Melinda, just for yits and giggles, do you remember the one that I gave to Quibs? We were looking that up. I got that through horse trading and doing all kinds of stuff in the business. But Frank Humphreys, I love it. Grandfather, his retirement watch is an Omega, great watch. I probably have 7 or 8 Omegas. I'm a fairly big fan of Omega. I don't know how many I have right now, but I got a bunch. That one that I gave Quibs, we were trying to find one that we could do like replacement value or anything. You got trying to just determine the market, and you wouldn't believe what they were getting. I mean, you wouldn't believe it. I promise you, 40 times what I paid, 50 times what I paid. If you get the right one, Kristen Melinda, you would not believe how valuable they are. I just did a repair for a client in Florida who mailed me out one, and this one was made by Cartier. I actually have it here right now, but it was made by Cartier. It is the most beautiful thing you've ever seen, but I bet it's probably 75 grand. Mo Love, Cartier does a really tasteful watch. Cartier is never too much. And for the love of God, do not give it to your neighbor, please. Cartier watches are, for all intents and purposes, that is an investment. It's stock, right? It's stock. Do not give that away. Susie in Paradise says, I wear my Rolex. I wear my my Rolex probably about as much as I wear any other watch. I am a fan. Thank you. None of my brothers wanted Dad's Omega. Guess who said, oh, I'll take that silly thing. I'll need to research it. You're getting me excited. Lily Benjamin, here's the good news. There's no such thing as a really cheap Omega. There isn't. I mean, really cheap Omegas are $1,000, for a vintage one. Those are the really cheap ones. Are those Richard Millets really worth that much? They cost that much to buy, right? People are paying that much. Are they worth it? I don't know. No, I don't think so. To be really honest with you, I think he ripped all of his designs off from a guy named Frank Mueller, who was doing the same thing years earlier in the same shape, that odd shape that you see. It's called Torno, and they've been doing that shape since the 1920s and 30s. So yeah, it's Omegas are, yeah, you can, Lily Benjamin, if you take really close up pictures of those, I can usually give you a really good idea of what they're worth. Mo Love, you know what? Don't give it to me. Seriously, that's way too extravagant a gift, for real. But Cartier makes the most beautiful stuff. I'm a huge fan of Cartier. Really, really big fan. Lisa says, I would love a Rolex maybe someday. No, you will have one someday, right? Don't do that maybe. Yes, you should have one. You should have one. There's no reason you shouldn't. You should have one. And if you're sitting here thinking, you know what, maybe I'd rather have this, you ought to have that too. Tommy, do you repair pocket watches? I do. In fact, my favorite thing in the world to repair is pocket watches, because they are the easiest of all watches to repair. What's hard is getting parts for some of them, but I have a beautiful collection of all new original stock. This is the stuff made by the actual manufacturers, not stuff that are cranked out in China. All of the old stuff made in Switzerland by Hamilton or by whoever happened to have made the watch. I will no longer be alive, and I will still have parts. I bought a lot of them. Reach out to me, TommyScoville@gmail.com. Dan C, women very often get upset at men because we can get looking into Mo Love, you know what? Send me an email. Let's figure out exactly which watch you got so I can give you an idea of just how much it's worth before you give it away. And here's the only reason I say that. I've had people mail me watches and say, you know what, this was my grandfather's, you can have it. I will mail the watches back. I usually get them running and I mail them back, because if it was your grandfather's watch and it ends up being a GP or it ends up being a really good watch, and you sent something worth $6,000 or $7,000 out to me, like, that makes me feel uncomfortable. Last summer I did that. I mailed it back to the person and they mailed it back. I didn't send it home a third time. I got the message, right? We sold it and we put it toward helping people get medical assisted treatment. But it's always difficult for me. Like, I do really well with money, but if someone donates a watch, man, I have a real hard time selling a watch, right? Money's a lot easier. All right, people, I'm going to get rolling. I don't know how much content I did today, but you know something? I'm downright impressed with myself, right? For an old man. And I'm going to go run around this, maybe swim, mud. But I do want to do a little running infomercial for B Cubed Bacon Bits, Ben Bacon Bits Turner. Man, check out the content he's putting up. Right, this is some cerebral stuff, and it's right in our wheelhouse of connection and kindness. Right, being the best you can be. It's pretty beautiful stuff, man. If you've never heard me talk about ripples, I really believe strongly in that what we send out can really change the world, right? And it's going to. You go, I'm not one of those people that can change the world. You're changing the world. I promise. Every one of you is. The question is, how are you changing it? Thank you very much, Kathy Ann. You're awesome. Yeah, go and check it out. Because honestly, it's a lot of really intelligent people on there with a lot of really intelligent conversation. And then if you get tired of that intelligent conversation, swing on over to Cults and Crims. Let's go on over to Colts and Crims and listen to the stuff that we were talking about. All right, good night, everybody. The cat is in the basket. I think I've lifted her up enough. Here, I'll give you one more to get this out of the way. She gets kind of angry if I run her into things. That is a cat in a basket. We do provide more cat in a basket than any YouTube channel. We will stand by that. Yeah, and we guarantee it. If somebody puts more in there, we'll just put more cat in a basket. Yeah, that's our guarantee. Remember the guy from something about Mary? Where's Quibble when I need her? She would have got that reference. Liddy, good to see you. We're doing all right. I hope you're doing well. And you know what? The nurse who loved me, I'm really happy I got a chance to see you tonight. I'm glad you're here. Everybody have a great night. We'll see you tomorrow. Between now and then, reach out and try to save somebody. You doing the Halloween cat pose?